Hi all, it's Michelle from Cozyegg, and today is Monday, May 12th, 2025, and I believe that this is episode 150, if you can believe it. I believe I started my Flosstube in 2015, which means that I've been doing this for a little over 10 years. So, yeah. So if you are new here, welcome. I hope that you find something that intrigues you and inspires you and brings you a little bit of comfort in your day. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And I so appreciate each and every one of you. And I do apologize. You guys have left some really very sweet, very kind comments on my last two videos, and I just haven't had the capacity to respond to them. So thank you. So I was kind of debating whether or not to record. We'll see if I actually edit and upload this. What I will say is that things as you know, have not been super great. And unfortunately, they got worse. So, and this is my nervous habit, which keeps me from crying. So, yeah, so it has been 6 weeks today since we lost Tut. I can't say that it has gotten any easier. So I'm still just taking that day by day. Ramses is doing pretty good. He's definitely missing his brother. And, you know, he's taking it day by day as well. So a couple weeks ago, I was notified that my job is going to be ending. In fact, my entire team is basically having to look for new jobs. So, yeah. So that ends on June 30th. So as you can probably imagine, I am in a mad scramble to try to find a new position somewhere. Unfortunately, I am in some cases competing with, you know, the other 14 people, 12 to 14 people on my team for positions, but also looking, you know, any place I can, under rocks, whatever. So hopefully something will turn up quickly, i.e. before June 30th. So yeah, so I would really love for things to turn around soon, because just when I thought that they could not get worse, they got worse. So here we are. So I have been doing some stitching, and so I thought I would come on and show that to you. And tomorrow is Dark 13 stitching, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that as well. So let's talk about stitching. And I will say that some nights I find a whole lot of comfort in my stitching and just being able to focus on that. And some nights I can't do anything. So, but we do what we can. So, the main thing that I have been working on is At Home by Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. This is a piece that I started last year on the spring equinox, and I absolutely fell in love with this piece as soon as I saw it, so I just needed to start it last year. And I basically got like the bare bones of the border done, and that was it. But I had to stitch 2 sides of that border twice, so I think that probably led to me setting it aside. And I have this in a project bag that I made out of some Tula Pink, Pinkerville fabric, and here's the inside fabric. So I love it. And a friend of mine gave me this M, which I put on the zipper pull, or I guess it is a zipper pull. Anyway, oh, and my nails. This is ethereal lacquer. A while back I had another color, so I have a blue and I have a purple, and I had the blue on a while back, and now I'm trying the purple, and I love it. It's kind of holographic. It does sort of change colors in the light, and I believe this one is called I've Got You. The two of them were from a mystery release that they did for Crescent City, for the book's the Crescent City book. So this one is called I've Got You. I think the blue one is called Athalar. So yeah, I've had that on. I did sit down one night and paint my nails because sometimes, you know, just painting your nails makes you feel better. So, all right, back to at home, which is what we were talking about when I got distracted. This is where I'm at, and it is wrinkled. So you can see I've got, you know, the bones of the bottom border, and I've basically been working on this top right quadrant. And this is on the called for 40 count vintage country mocha with the called for threads, which are a mix of overdyes and DMC. So here's where I'm at. I don't remember where I was exactly the last time you saw this, but I've got the border filled in with all the flowers. Those, this pink flower and this pink flower up here are the center points. So I've been working on all these trees. I love the satin stitching on these two triangle trees. It catches the light so beautifully and just adds a little bit of texture, which I love. I love these little robins in their nest with those 3 little blue eggs. And Brenda has you stitch the, like cross stitch the nest and then stitch these long stitches over it, you know, to make it look like an actual nest. And then stitch a few cross stitches of the same green as the branches over that. And so it's, you know, it's a really interesting layering of stitches, which I really love. But I just love those 2 robins. They're so pretty. And so I have been working on the house. I've got the chimneys done. And one of the colors that it calls for is very close to the color of the fabric. Now, like I said, this is the called for fabric, called for threads. So I'm hoping that it will just work out, but I am a little nervous about it. So I have been working on stitching the mortar for the house, and that way I figure I can work on that when I have a little brain power, and then when I don't have brain power, I can fill in bricks. So that's where I'm at, and I've really been enjoying this. It's not a super big piece. There's just, you know, a good amount of stitching in it. So so I've basically been working on that monogamously, except for my weekend projects. And my weekend projects are on Friday nights. I work on shores at Hawk Run Hollow. Originally, there was a large group of us that were all stitching on Hawk Run Hollow. Unfortunately, that has dwindled, but I'm still working on mine. So this is Shores at Hawk Run Hollow, and I am working on block 4. I did not bring my bag in here, so you'll just have to trust me that the other 3 blocks are done. There's the lighthouse block, this block that has all the fish, and then this block with the mermaid. And so I've been working on block 4. This past Friday, I finally finished this moon, and I absolutely love, love, love this moon. This has been one of my favorite blocks, like from the moment that I saw Shores initially. This has always been one of my favorite blocks because I'm a huge fan of Gustav Klimt and his work, and that's what this moon reminds me of, is Klimt's artwork. And let me tell you, that was a pain in the ass to stitch and count, and it's a lot of color changes, even though it doesn't look like it, but it is. So now that I have that moon done, I basically have the rest of the words to do. I've got some more of these big stars, and then there's like scattered single stitches throughout. I'm undecided yet if I'm going to put those in or not. I may put a few in, see what I think, and then decide from there. But I'm really loving this. And this is stitched on the called for 36 count vintage autumn gold by Lakeside, that was bought way back in the day when I first started this, which I think I started this like in 2009. Thanks to Yahoo groups. And I'm stitching this with the called for NPIs. And so one of the things that I did with this piece, because it's a large piece, obviously, and it calls for a lot of silk. So when I first started this, what I did was I bought the silk just for the first block. And so for each subsequent block, I just buy the ones that I need for the next block. And I figure at some point I'll have all of them. But until I need them, I don't need to buy them. So I think I had to buy 2 or 3 maybe for this block. And I probably needed a couple for this block. So I'm just buying them as I need them, and that makes it a little more affordable to stitch with silks. And because I'm so slow, it's fine. So loving how this looks. I'm so completely in love with this fabric. I wish it was 40 count and not 36, but past me didn't know any better. Know any better for what I like. I do not like stitching on 36, and the hair, we've got a Medusa thing going on today, so just ignore it, or don't look directly at it, whatever the case may be. So that's what I work on Fridays. I'm sorry, I'm having to kind of amp myself up a little bit so that I don't cry. So all right, so that's what I work on Fridays. And then on Sundays, I am supposed to be working on His Eyes on the Sparrow by Heartstring Samplery with Olivia from Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. But I'm a terrible SAL partner, and so I have not worked on this in quite some time. But yesterday, I decided to get it out and work on it because I was determined that I needed to make some progress. And I will tell you, there are 2 things that kind of spurred me on to do this, because obviously, being in a SAL isn't enough of an incentive. So Krista Gramer, who is just stitching along and runs the Our Sampler Years Facebook group, she has been, because this year is the year of the snake, she has been focusing on Adam and Eve samplers, which I love. I love Adam and Eve samplers. And so I kind of loved that idea of working on an Adam and Eve sampler for the year of the snake. And so it'd be fantastic if I could get this finished. I think I started this. So I think in my very first Flosstube in January of 2015, I was starting this. So it's now 10 years old. Whatever. We're not going to talk about it. But I really love the idea of working on Adam and Eve samplers for the Year of the Snake. And I am also wearing my snake earrings, so it all fits. The other thing is that another friend of mine, Margaret Hay, has been working on Adam and Eve samplers on Sundays. And when she finishes one, she moves to the next one. And I love that idea as well. And so, you know, I got to thinking, originally when I stitched And They Send, it was my Sunday sampler. And now, you know, Sparrow has become my Sunday sampler. And so I kind of love the idea of just continuing to have an Adam and Eve sampler that I can work on Sundays once I finish this one. And I've got two others that are with, I probably have more than that, but two that I can think of. One of those is Snooty Parrot by Barbara Anna, and one of those is Frances Eden by Handwork. And I would love to have both of those stitched as well. So I have a plethora of Adam and Eve samplers that I can work on once I finish this. But all of that to introduce you to this one. So this is where I'm at. Like I said, this is His Eyes on the Sparrow by Heartstring Samplery, and I am stitching this on a 48 count Gonder linen that was hand dyed. I am stitching with the called for over dyed threads. Mine just looks super saturated because it's on a 48 count. And so last night I finished stitching Adam. I have been working on him for, I think like 3 Sundays, but I finally got him finished. And I had been also working on putting all the stems and leaves on the branches. So I finally finished up this side of the tree with all the stems and leaves, excuse me. And now I can go back and put the apples in. I also needed to do the very top of the tree, so I got that done last night as well. And so this side needs leaves and stems, and then both sides need apples. And then of course the snake goes right here, and then I need to do Eve and bring my border across. But it doesn't look like much when I hold it up like this, but that is a lot of stitching, and those, you know, figuring out where those stinking leaves and stems go is a little time consuming, and you have to pay attention. So last night I was in the mood for it, and so I made some good progress, I think. So, and that reminds me I need to text Olivia and show her my progress. So I worked on this last night, and like I said, this is supposed to be my Sunday sampler with Olivia. So I will keep working on this. I do have like all of the top portion done, and I have the right hand corner completely done. This is in the center of the bottom. And so, and this is of course my bottom border. So I still have, you know, a little bit to go. Up here is where the words are, and I have not filled in my words yet, but this is sort of everything below the words. And I didn't bring this bag in here either, so you just have to imagine what it looks like. But, and my needle minder is of this tree. This was from, I bought this from Beth when she came to teach a workshop at Tudor Rose Sampler Guild, because I thought I needed a little Adam and Eve, this Adam and Eve needle minder. So that is what I worked on last night. And then tomorrow is Dark 13 stitching. And if you are not familiar with Dark 13 stitching, Emily of Eclectic Possessions and I host Dark 13 stitching on the 13th of every month, where you can get out your Halloween stitching, your dark gothic, macabre, whatever stitching and work on it. Typically I try to work on, you know, a piece for that whole week, because I'm not great at rotating things. So I usually pick something, and whatever, you know, week the 13th lands on, I try to just stitch on something that week. And we also host Dark October stitching, which of course takes place the whole month of October. But you can use the hashtag dark13 with the number 13, dark13 stitching. And we would love to have you join us. It's so fun to get to see people that are participating in it. Feel free to tag me, because, you know, Instagram tags or whatever. But feel free to tag me. I'd love to see what you're working on. And interestingly enough, I did not work on Dark 13 stitching last month because reasons. But I was talking to, so Lola Crow has a new SAL out that's out right now called is it the Magnificent Bird SAL? Extraordinary Bird SAL? Something. Anyway, and it's like got this beautiful sort of Victorian Gothic looking, you know, aviary, and it's got an owl and one of those, you know, Dracula parrots in it already, and I'm just in love with it. And so I was commenting on someone's post the other day, Knitting the Bones. She's working on that, on the Extraordinary Bird SAL, and I said something like, I really am having a hard time not purchasing this, but I told myself that I needed to finish my Greenhouse of Oddities piece, which is also by Lola Crow. That was her stitch along, I think 2 years ago. I'm like, I need to finish that one before I go into, you know, Extraordinary Birds. And she said, oh, you know, that she needed to work on her greenhouse too. So I suggested that we get it out for Dark 13 stitching. And so this morning I dug mine out and put it in a Q-snap, which is why at home is wrinkled, because it came out of the Q-snap. And so I'm gonna work on my Greenhouse of Oddity SAL, and I absolutely adore this piece. I think I started it for my birthday last year, if I'm not mistaken. I love this piece so much. So this is by Lola Crow, and it was a mystery sampler, and I think I finally was all in with it. I think I purchased it like around planting 4, because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to have this. So it's like poisonous plants and, you know, weird, out of the ordinary kind of thing. And there, you know, there's little animals in here and all kinds of stuff. So this is up through planting 4. And this was the point at which I, you know, purchased the pattern, because I had seen this much and I was like, yeah, gotta have it. So I don't have the sides of my greenhouse completely built yet, but I will build those out as I get to them. So there's a little mole here and a little poison dart frog and this little rat and a bee and Venus flytrap and a bat orchid and this little owl and of course the blue morphos. I'm so in love with this. And her use of shading and color is just, you know, it's one of those things that it like you're stitching along and it's like, this doesn't look like anything. And then you put like, you know, a couple of back stitches in there, or you add one other color and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's a rat. So like it actually looks like a rat now. Before it just looked like a bunch of colors. So it's just amazing. And I really love working on this. And so I'm gonna pick this up starting tonight. Tomorrow's the 13th. And oh, and this is in, I did bring this bag. This is in a vintage owl lady bag, and it has moons and crystals and black cats, and you know, how could I resist that? And it glows in the dark. So win-win. And it has a little black cat scissor pull. Zipper pull. And then on the inside, it has bats, which I assume also glow in the dark. So, and there may or may not be a bag of peanut butter M&Ms in here. So if you hear crinkling, that's what it is. So I'm gonna start planting 5. And planting 5 is this big tree right here. And she calls this the parasite because it is basically something that, you know, kind of is an invasive species that comes in and just like kills off things. So I was looking to see if it tells me what it is exactly, so that I can share with you what that is. Okay, it's also called witch's hair or devil's hair. It's called Cuscata, and it's a yellow parasitic vine that has no leaves and does not make chlorophyll. Its stem winds around nearby host plants and drains them of nutrients. The vines eventually form large, tangled mats that engulf the host. Cuscata is native to Europe but has become established as an invasive species in many parts of the world. So, very cool. I love that she gives you all of that information on each of the plants and animals that appear. So, and I am stitching this with the called for DMC, and I am stitching it on, this is 40 count Boston by Seraphim, which I think is a perfect color because in some lights it looks green, and some lights it looks blue, and some lights it looks gray. So I think it's kind of perfect. I love this piece so much. And so I'm really excited to work on it again. And to do some dark 13 stitching, because I haven't done that in a while. All right, so that is it for stitching. And so normally that would be all that I would have worked on, but I did actually have an opportunity to work on some of my quilting a couple weeks ago. So, and this is in a project bag that my friend Mary made me out of Tula Pink. I can't even think of the name of it. Tula Pink fabric. I don't know. But this is the inside of it. And it's got this glittery vinyl at the bottom. It's fab. Anyway. It's like Dia de los Muertes, but I'm sure there's some other name for it. And even though I'm like, you know, all in with the Tula Pink, I don't know, I can't think. So, I decided to, I met virtually with some friends of mine for what we're calling Quilted Palooza, and we're getting together and we're working on quilting and talking about quilts and dreaming about quilts and enabling each other, which I love. And so I decided to get out my EPP project and work on that because I haven't worked on it in forever. And this is my Tula Pink Hex on the Beach that is in Tula Pink saltwater fabric and De La Luna, that's the fabric. Anyway, this is what it will look like. And I am working on, I will show you what I have so far, as much as I can. So I have 11 rows done and attached, and I'll just kind of see if I can run this across so you can see the whole thing. So I am working on row 12, and so basically what I do is I based my, and my friend Mary made me this too, that I use to keep all of my EPP supplies. Like this holds my needles, and this little snap pocket has all of my hexagons that I'm working on in it. And then this zipper pocket has my needles and scissors and thread in there. So my pack of needles, I should say. So basically what I do when I do EPP is I take so these came as a kit, the whole thing came as a kit, and so the hexagons were pre-cut. And so I take my hexagon and I glue baste my paper piece to that, and then I thread baste my edges down. So basically when I got together with them, I worked on doing all of my thread basting. So, yep, so I got all of these done. And then once I get all of these, like my whole row basted, then I will start sewing them together in a row. And then once I get the whole row sewn together, then I will attach it to my quilt. And then when I can, I will take out the papers. So that's what I worked on, and it was nice to get this back out. I haven't had it out in so long, and it was really nice to work on it, because I would really like to get this done at some point, because I absolutely love it. And it is, you know, I have all of these quilts that are sitting around languishing that need to be worked on, that I haven't worked on in forever, that I would really like to get finished and get quilted and get them out of my closet. That's the plan. So, yeah. And I'm sorry if you can hear Eric in the other room. He is teaching a class, and obviously he's very excited about what he's teaching. So That is everything that I have worked on, which is actually a lot more than I would have expected for a month, especially when I've been kind of mostly monogamous. But so let's talk about what I've been reading. It's been a very, very strange few months, I will say that, between Eric being in the hospital and Tut dying and now losing my job. It's a lot. And I will admit that I've been, coping in a variety of ways, some of which, like I was doing a lot of grief shopping, which of course, once I found out about my job, had to come to a screeching halt. But I will say that I did buy this piece from Evil Pawn Jewelry. These have been like long retired, but she made them. She had like 3 that she made available, and I snatched it up because I really, really wanted this piece. This is called the Chariot, and it's a winged scarab, and it has a prayer from the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, underneath the stone. So I absolutely love it, and I'm thrilled that I was able to get it. My winged Isis is also from her. So yeah, love it. I have been needing my power pieces. So yeah, I may have also bought some nail polish and some fabric. So let's talk about, so we've been watching a couple of shows that I thought I would mention. So one is, we did watch The Pit, which if you have not watched it, it's really good. Highly recommend. I did also finally get to see Mayfair Witches on AMC. I've talked here before about Interview with the Vampire and how much I enjoyed that. Mayfair Witches did not, like, the people that I have talked to that watched it did not like it as much as they liked Interview with the Vampire, and I can get that. To be honest with you, it has been so long since I read those books, The Witching Hour and Lasher, etc., Taltos. It has been so long since I read those books that I could not tell you if the show is pretty close to the Anne Rice books or not. I'm a much better judge of whether the Interview with the Vampire, etc., is close to the book. So I enjoyed it. We watched season 1. I enjoyed it. I don't know that I liked it as well as Interview with the Vampire, but still worth watching. The other thing that we are watching right now that we just started watching is called Sherlock and Daughter. Now it is on the CW, and despite that, we decided to go ahead and watch it anyway. So we'll see. I'm enjoying it. It is not what I would expect for a show that is on the CW. I feel like it's a little... It's maybe a little more, this is going to sound wrong, it's maybe a little more intellectual than I would expect of shows on the CW, but I'm enjoying it so far. I think we've watched 2 or 3 episodes. So give it a look. Oh, and the other thing. Speaking of Dark 13 stitching, I meant to mention this. Totally forgot. So, the big news. Mariah, who is Lisa Roswell's daughter, is republishing her mom's patterns. So her mom was the primitive needle, and when Lisa died, obviously, you know, her charts went out of print, and so they have become very hard to find, sought after. You know, they are my comfort stitching. I absolutely love stitching primitive needle charts for more than just the charts themselves. But Mariah has a website set up, primitiveneedle.com, and she has been working on recharting and digitizing all of the charts of her mom's, and she is making them available to purchase as PDFs. So she's already got, I don't know, 10 or 15 patterns that are out there that are available to purchase. As of yesterday, she released Witch's Hollow, which of course is a huge, you know, unicorn for a lot of people. Blackened Sky is available, which I have stitched, and that is one of my favorite stitches that I've ever done. Witch's Hollow is out there. Two Horses, Cape Cod Boys, Cape Cod Girls, Earth Sampler, which is another one that I have stitched that I loved, is out there. 1800 Love Letter. What else? Hoodoo Voodoo is out there. So yeah, just live simply. So go get them. And she's of course continuing to work on getting them done, getting them up, and making them available for folks. So you can follow her on Instagram or on Facebook, The Primitive Needle, and you know, she has been kind of letting people know as she uploads things. So but just go check back. I think you can join. I think she has a newsletter option that you can sign up for as well. So definitely do that. We're all so grateful that Mariah has decided to do this. You know, people have been after the family for years and years and years to sell the rights to the charts. And honestly, I'm thrilled that Mariah is doing it herself and keeping this in the family, and you know, kind of honoring her mother in this way. So we're all so grateful. So get your credit card out, go get you some primitive needle charts, and more to come. And I did send Mariah, so I had some corrections from Salem Remembered and from Tombstone Spots, and so I did send those to Mariah so that she would be aware of the corrections. If you have stitched other pieces and have corrections, I'm sure she would welcome them, so that she's, you know, aware of them, and then can hopefully, you know, kind of incorporate the corrections in the re-releases. So yeah, very, very excited about it. And I keep, you know, checking back for ones that I don't have. So of the ones that she's got up now, I needed the 1800 Love Letter, which I love, and Live Simply. I need both of those. So very excited about it. But there's a few more that I'm like antsy about. But now, of course, I want to stitch like all the primitive needle things. But, oh, and she has Annie Hyssop up. So I started Annie Hyssop on Halloween this past year. So Annie Hyssop is up. She's a fabulous, fabulous chart. So go get that one if you need it. But now I want to get Annie Hyssop back out. But I'm going to work on my greenhouse. Maybe next month I can get Annie Hyssop out and work on her. All right, let's talk about books. primitiveneedle.com. Okay, so what have I been reading? So after I checked in with you last, I think I was in the midst of reading this, Air of Fire. This is the third book in the Throne of Glass series. So I finished this. I really enjoyed this, and I feel like it was kind of timely to read because there is a bit about her kind of working through her grief and working through, you know, grief over the people that she has lost and all of that. And so I think it was kind of timely for me to read, and really, really enjoyed this. The next one I'm going to read in this series is Assassin's Blade, which is technically a prequel. There is a lot of argument about where to read Assassin's Blade. Read it first, read it last, read it in the middle. And so after talking to some friends, they recommended I read the first 3 books and then read Assassin's Blade and then move on to the next. So that's what I'm going to do. So the next one up is Assassin's Blade. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it, but there you go. And in case you don't know, I have my other Instagram, which is Invoking Beauty. And that's where I tend to post like stuff about what books I'm reading. I post about, you know, food, jewelry, what have you, you know, more kind of personal stuff, not, you know, non-stitching stuff, I'll put it that way. I split up my 2 accounts a while back because somebody made some really, you know, kind of negative remarks about why am I following you if you're going to talk about all these other things I don't care about. But yeah, so I have another Instagram called Invoking Beauty if you're interested. And yeah, what am I looking for? I am looking for the other 2 books that I read so that I can show you that. So after I finished reading Air of Fire, I read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. This is the second book by Ali Hazelwood that I've read. The first one that I read was called Bride, which was a vampire werewolf romantasy, paranormal romance, whatever we want to call it. I guess it's technically a paranormal romance and not a romantasy. But I read that a while ago and loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was so good. And so I thought, you know, a bunch of people have been talking about Deep End. I will give it a shot. I loved this book. I thought it was so good. I zipped through it in like 3 days, which is saying something because I've been reading and stitching so slowly because I can't concentrate. But I zipped through this quick. Really, really good. Loved it. You know, I'll just say, you know, always look for, you know, your content warnings, whatever. If there are certain things that you don't want to read about, think about that before you, dive into stuff. But really loved this. Highly recommend. And then I read another book that I'm pretty sure was recommended to me, and I feel like the person that recommended it to me was like, this is on, Amazon for $1.99 and it's super good, go get it. So I got it. And after I finished Deep End, I was looking for something else to read. So I was like, well, okay, I'll read this. And it's called Morbidly Yours, and it's by Ivy Fairbanks. And this is the first book I think there's a second one that's set kind of in the same area, same-ish characters. This was good. It didn't blow me out of the water, but I feel like it may have suffered from coming right after Deep End. But this was good. I enjoyed it. I read it pretty quickly. It was enjoyable and it kept my attention. So, and then after that, I picked up the next book for my book club, which is The Crimson Road by A.G. Slatter. And I've been working my way through this. I'm about halfway. And I'm enjoying this, but it has been slow going. And I don't know if it's me or if it's the book, but it's been slow going. I think it's me. But, those other two books I read on my phone, and I tend to be able to read a lot faster on my phone than I can with a physical book. I don't entirely know why that is, but that is. So this has been slow going, but I'm enjoying it. So, and this is sort of a, gothic fantasy novel, so it's good. All right, I think that's it. So I'm going to clean all this up and work on my greenhouse of oddities and eat some peanut butter M&Ms and try to stay off my phone. So, if you are the good vibes kind of person, please feel free to send me all the good vibes to A, find another job, and B, break whatever, hex is on me, because it feels like somebody's, really putting the stuff on me at the moment. So, all right, well, that's it. And I hope that all of you are enjoying your stitching and having a nice, relaxing spring. It feels like it's already summer here because it's going to be 100 degrees like in 2 days. But whatever. So, yep. All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for celebrating my 150th video with me. And thanks for hanging in there and providing me with a little bit of comfort while I'm going through all of this stuff. So, and any kind of, anti-bad juju stuff that you can throw out there for me, please do. All right. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks everybody. Go to primitiveneedle.com, get your charts, and keep checking back for more, because we want to make sure that she knows that we're excited and that we want her to release the rest of them. So, All right. Thanks all. Bye.